Hey everybody, Coulter here. Today I'm going to show you how we dip to treat for insects and fungal diseases and such in our plants so we have a healthy production. We'll catch you after the intro. So the reason we do this is we want to make sure that all of our plugs, so all these little guys here that are going to go into production, you know, they're going to go in pots and baskets and such like that. We want to make sure that they stay as easy as possible for us to keep them healthy against the different diseases that come in through the greenhouse sometimes or want to, and the different pests and insects that do. And what that does is it allows us to have a whole sellable crop instead of having bugs here and bugs there, disease take this out and such. It also kind of just can help make sure that we have even and consistent growth just because stuff is healthy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you kind of what we use. Now, as a disclaimer, this is what's legal for us to do here where I'm at. You need to check with your local state's regulations for chemical use and such like that. So I use 2 different fungicides and 2 different insecticides. One of the insecticides is a contact insecticide and one is a residual insecticide. Specifically, the plant absorbs it and then it becomes toxic to insects and specific types of insects. So as always, when you're dealing with any chemicals, you'll want to use proper protection, so gloves. I'll be wearing glasses when I'm dipping. There's 2 ways to do it. Today I'm just going to show you how to dip. That's the easiest method and for like smaller amounts of stuff. So I've only got, you know, maybe a dozen or so strips to dunk here. We can dip every 90 days with this, up to twice in a season. Usually we're good with 1 at the start before we plug. You'll want to do this before you pot everything up into their finished containers, so baskets and pots and stuff, and you'll want to leave them sit. You know, you have at least 12-hour, preferably 24-hour re-entrance time into the greenhouse, and then some of these chemicals can require a longer handling time for the plants after they've been processed. So do what you can in the greenhouse prior. I like to do it in the evening so that it can sit for 12 hours before I need to be back out in the morning. Few other things you'll need a scale, something to weigh out. If you have dry chemical like I do, one of the insecticides is dry. I like these Save-A-Drop. They go on the end of a garden hose. They're really handy. They meter water. Don't trickle water through them. They're a little less reliable that way. Try to run as well as you can water through them to get the best reading results. And then just a standard chemical measure cup is nice to have. I like to just rinse this out really well when I'm done. So what we do is we measure all the chemicals out. So the liquids we'll pour into that beaker and we'll mix them into our solution tub. We actually just use a tote, and I'm going to show you, I've already got mine mixed up. I'll show you kind of how to mix it up here with some B-roll. But I like to add a little water to the bottom of the tub first, put my dry in first so that it can start to dissolve. Then I put all my wets in. I missed one in the B-roll footage, but it is in the solution. And then I'll take it and I will mix it up with my favorite type of mixing tool, just a piece of PVC pipe. Lightweight, cheap, disposable if you need to, easy to clean, easy to keep track of. So now that we have our solution in our tub, we're going to dip them, and the goal in dipping them is we want to make sure we fully saturate the soil of the plug and we fully cover all the plant material. So they'll get fully submerged into that solution. And what that will do is that will ensure that the product that's contact works on contact, and the product that can be soaked up by the plant and become residual is in the soil so the plant can soak it up. And we want to just make sure too, before we dip, that the plugs are not completely dry. So this plug here is a good example of about what's perfect, and I don't know if the camera's going to show it. It's just a little crumbly, but it's still got a bit of moisture in it, which means when we dip it, it's not going to try to float, for one, and for two, it's not going to run all the water just off of it. I've got one little plug here I noticed is a little dry, and I don't know if the camera will be able to see it or not, but it's still just damp enough to work. Usually what I like to do is the morning before I dip, make sure that those plugs have a good drink so that they're not dry by evening time. So what this dipping is going to do is we're going to fully submerge the plants, then we'll set them out so we don't have to dip them twice, and then we'll put them back with the others so we know that they've already been dipped. I try to keep things segregated in the greenhouse so I know for sure what has and what hasn't been dipped. And then yeah, and then we're all done, and then we make sure and dispose of any leftover chemical in a way that's not going to hurt anything else. And just make sure that you stay clean. If you get any splatter, make sure you follow your safety sheet for each chemical. Read your labels really well, be thorough, know exactly what the rules and regulations are for your chemicals, because it's specific to area as much as anything. And that's why I'm not really going to get into detail about what we use, just because of that. But you can kind of see there from a minute ago. Anyways, yeah, let's get to dipping these. So now we're done dipping this batch of plugs here. Now they'll be ready to plant either tomorrow or over the weekend sometime. Probably Sunday is when I'll get to it. So if you noticed, when I'm dipping the plugs, I like to kind of try to get the soil saturated first. Then I'll roll the foliage in, make sure we have full coverage on both sides of the foliage. Then I pull it out and I kind of lightly shake the tray very methodically and slowly. But what I'm doing there is I'm just trying to get as much of the extra solution that doesn't need to be in the plugs roots down into the batch mix tank here so that I can use it for more. And that's even more important the more you have to do, because you can usually get an extra tray or two out at least by the time you're done. Like I said, make sure when you're done with your solution you dispose of it properly in a place in a way that is recommended and that's not going to hurt anything or anyone, because these are chemicals intended to kill things like bugs, and you don't want to kill things that aren't intended to be killed. Like I said, it's best to wear your safety glasses. You don't want to get it on you. If you do, you need to rinse it off with cold water, you know, all that fun stuff. Follow the directions and the instructions for contact. One thing I didn't mention is you're going to want to make sure you have long sleeves. It's just a little extra layer of protection. Your shoes, of course, and long pants and such like that. So yeah, these are ready to go and ready to be planted here as soon as they dry down a bit, and yeah, we'll get some beautiful plants out of them. I hope this helped. As always, please like and subscribe if you're willing, and if you found this helpful, put in your comments something that you'd like to see from our operation. If you have any questions about our operation or how to do things, we're more than happy to help with some of that information best we're able. And I'm really hoping that this series can be helpful, instructive, and to help people who are just starting out and maybe don't have a lot of good mentors to be able to produce a professional quality product consistently on a growing scale. You know, we're pretty small. We've got about 5,000 square feet or 6,000 square feet of production for flowers, which really isn't that much, but it's more than enough to keep us busy for sure, and it's more than enough to justify a little bit of technique and equipment to help it go more smoothly. Anyhow, if you found this useful, please, like I said, like and subscribe. We'd like to hit 1,000 subscribers by June if possible, and we look forward to seeing you in future videos and farm updates. So we'll see you then. Meanwhile, let's get growing together.